The Dalai Lama once said, happiness is not something ready made, it comes from your own actions. Yes, happiness can be taught and therefore learned. Well, let's welcome our guest during National Mental Health Awareness Month, Rob Dubin, Chief Happiness Officer at Happier Now. Great to have you. And as CHO, you should definitely know what you're talking about. How do you convince those mired in their own suffering to turn frowns upside down?
Well, it starts with understanding happiness, and a lot of us have a misconception about happiness. Our founding document of our country, the Declaration of Independence, refers to the pursuit of happiness. And most of us learn when we're young that happiness is supposed to happen to us when we check all the right boxes in life, when we get a good education and we get the good job and we meet the right partner and we have a couple of cute kids and we do all the things, and happiness is supposed to fall out of the sky on our head. And it just doesn't work that way. Happiness is actually a decision we make on how we want to live our lives.
And in researching for this interview, I've read through a lot of different philosophers across the ages, and they all tend to say the same thing. They say that you are the creator of your own happiness, and it takes work. So how do we get better at being happy?
Well, I love to, when I do my workshops with large groups of people, I always have them do this little thought experiment. I ask them to think about anything that they're good at in their life, whether they play a musical instrument or a sport they're good at, or even their job itself. In every case, you decided you wanted to do that thing. You decided you wanted to learn to play piano, and then you got some piano lessons, and then you practiced piano, and you got better and better over time. Happiness is no different. So first we start with eliminating those myths like happiness comes with checking all the right boxes. Then we make the decision we want more happiness in our lives. And then we get some instruction on the things the readings that you mentioned that give us some strategies. We practice those strategies over time and we get better and better at being happy.
Yeah, you say optimism is key. It's a key component to happiness, and it's not looking at the glasses half full. So what do you mean by that?
Well, we often hear that optimism is looking at the glass as half full instead of half empty. But sometimes in our life, the glass isn't half full. Maybe things are not going well for you. You've had a couple of setbacks recently, and the glass may not be half full. And seeing it as half full when it's not is toxic positivity, which I think is counterproductive. What I suggest is see the glass as it really is. And if it's 10% full, then it's 10% full. And look at the problems or the empty part of the glass and acknowledge them. And then here's the key. If you spend 10 minutes thinking about your problem, spend 30 minutes thinking about solutions. And this works in your personal life. It works in your work life. If you're having a team meeting about something your company is doing or your team is doing, focus on the problem for some amount of time and then spend 3 times that amount of time focused on the solution.
I'm so glad that you brought up toxic positivity, because I think people are taught, and there's all of this stuff out there and people trying to sell you on, well, this is the way you do it. This is the way you go about it. And optimism. But you've got optimists, pessimists, and realists. So would it be fair to say that you can see something for what it is, but the way in which you react to it to make things better for yourself? I also am curious, though, if you try to stay, whether you call it optimistic or positive, but life keeps throwing you curveballs, how do you get past that?
Well, I think it's acknowledging the curveballs. As I said, you can't run away from them, but you focus on the solution. For instance, in my career, my 4th career now in my 70s, I studied motivational speaking or transformational speaking about happiness. And yesterday, I lost a potential job. And for about 10 seconds, I was very distraught, or, not distraught, but upset about it. But then after just a few seconds, I said to myself, well, all of this, like any sales, is a number game. So you're going to win, 1 out of 3 or whatever. So I just lost one. That means the odds are that much better that the next one I get is going to come through for me. So that's that kind of optimistic thinking. And I've just done it so long in my life that what happened yesterday just happened automatically for me.
It served you well so far. And you also say that gratitude is the fastest way to happiness. And I totally agree with that.
Absolutely. The two C's that are most prominent, every study on happiness shows that close personal relationships are one of the best ways to be happy. You need a few people that really know who you are and appreciate you for who you are. Friendships. And the best way to have a good friend is to be a good friend. And then the other thing is what you mentioned, gratitude. It's so powerful because if you're focusing on what you're grateful for in your life, you can't also be feeling anxiety or worry or misery. So in all of my trainings that I do with corporations or individuals, I ask them to start a gratitude journal and spend 5 minutes towards the end of every day and write down 5 things that you're grateful for.
And I think, Rob, that's a great way to start the month of May. I want to thank you so much for joining us. The Chief Happiness Officer, you got to take it from the expert. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Layla.